My name is David, currently serving as the shepherd of Silver House Church and as a teacher for the youth ministry. Today I want to share a short my story on how God has been reshaping and growing my faith through the unexpected journey of life. Many weeks ago, our church hosted the third Oceania United Singles Camp, and it was during the preparation leading up to this camp that our family was hit with some pretty big news. Dad was diagnosed with cancer, acute myeloid leukemia, and when I first heard this news, I felt very confused. It didn't feel real. My first reaction was not to pray, but I went straight to ChatGPT with some questions that I had. What is AML? What does it do to the body? What are the treatment plans available? Statistical numbers, etc. I was searching for comfort in trying to understand the situation and the numbers rather than God. Despite this, the response from Dr. GPT wasn't great, especially for a man around the age of 60. Even then, I felt this pressure to be strong. I couldn't show fear, especially to the VIPs in our house church. I wanted them to see the hope and the strength that comes with faithfully following Christ, even in difficult times. Even when people or elders of the church who saw me would ask, how's your dad? Every time I gave them the same confident answer, he's doing well, he'll be fine. But on the inside, I was afraid. Every time I prayed with a heart full of fear. I was coming to God, yes, but I was coming to God to manage my fear, to bargain with Him, to hope that nothing would go wrong. It wasn't surrender, it was another way of trying to stay in control. And even with that fear, still there were days where I didn't show up in prayer for my own father, and that reflected something about my heart. My first instinct when faced with a difficult situation was not to turn to God, but to try and figure things out on my own and look for comfort, and to look at statistics and numbers as if there was some sort of indication of what God could or couldn't do. Even though I knew God is not limited to any statistic, He is not limited to what numbers say, He can do greater things that we can even calculate or think about, I still had this heart. I came to singles camp carrying this, and it felt like I was very anticipant for it. A time for healing, a time for restoration, not only for my biological family, but also for my spiritual family, as I felt that our house church was in a very dry season, a lack of Christ-centered ministry, and a lack of the Holy Spirit's presence at our house church. And I was hoping that this camp would be a great turning point in my life. But things didn't go the way I expected. By another blessing, I wasn't able to attend full time, so I wasn't allocated a group to do sharing or any of the activities with. I felt very alone, and during group times, I'd simply go back to my cabin and go to sleep. I used this as an excuse to not give my all during the camp, and the first 2 days passed with nothing. But on the final day, Pastor Yun shared a quick message, and as I sat there listening, God helped me turn a mirror to my heart. I began to reflect on how I was handling everything. My dad's condition, my fear, my prayer life, and I had been managing my fear on the outside, but performing faith for the people around me. And while I was barely showing up honestly before God. A few weeks before the camp as well, Pastor Yun shared a message about faith. And something from that message came back to me. A message preaching that faith does not mean that you will never have fear again. But faith is that even when fear comes, you learn to seek God. And sitting there at camp, this message came to me, and I realized I wasn't doing that faithfully. And it was while preparing this short testimony that last Wednesday's quiet time stood out to me. As we read about King David, a man chosen and called by God, anointed as king. But in 2 Samuel 3:39, he simply says, I am weak. He didn't perform strength before God. He didn't have it all together all the time. And he brought his fear, his exhaustion to God honestly, and still God used him greatly. So I came back to God in prayer, differently this time, not to manage, not to bargain, not with a performing strength or faith, but with honesty and a heart simply that says, God, I am weak. I know that to fear the outcome is to not trust in your plan. But thank you regardless for giving me a new peace, a hope in you, and a confidence to worship you, even if. So I will continue to seek you, remain in your presence daily, and while it might not be the easiest task, I will do my best. And thank you for listening to my story.